Hey, welcome in. I am Michael Rolfs with Coldwell Banker. Glad you guys can join us on this beautiful Thursday. A little warm out there, so hopefully you're staying cool. Well, today I want to talk about what's happening in Santa Clara County. There's about $17 billion in construction and projects happening all around Santa Clara County. So I want to break down some of those projects and talk to you about what's happening out there because there is quite a bit. It is an exciting time in this area. Let me pull up some slides here that I made. Yeah, so more than 17 billion is committed and being built right now just in Santa Clara County. There's a $2.8 billion Anderson Dam rebuild happening in Morgan Hill, over $2 billion happening between two mega hospitals. You have El Camino in Los Gatos, and you have Kaiser in South San Jose, and 12.4 billion on phase two of BART. So I'm going to talk about all of this tonight and a lot more. But two of the biggest private projects kind of are both on pause right now. I mean, I know I was excited about the Google project downtown, what was going to happen next to Deirdre Station, how that was all going to be built out. There was going to be a big village that, you could go to a Sharks game and you're going to have restaurants and bars and all this stuff around Deirdre, all anchored by Google and what they were going to build out. Well, that $19 billion has been on pause for a long time. They don't have to do anything for still a couple more years. So we will see if that ever plays out. They actually are moving forward with office space right now in Sunnyvale. So that is something to keep an eye on. Sunnyvale's getting Google, and there's another tech company going there as well. If you know what I'm talking about, you can hit it in the comments. I'm blanking on which Amazon Web Services is also going to Sunnyvale. Sorry, lost that one for a second, but got it back. But yeah, so you have Google and Amazon both going into Sunnyvale and making huge investments into office space there, which tells you what they're thinking too. I think you're seeing a lot more office space being used than you did over the last 5 years. So I think people are getting back into the offices, and that's definitely going to have an impact on how our market moves here. But you also have in Santa Clara, the $8 billion that stalled there was actually it was on the golf course. They took away, I think it was Santa Clara Golf Course or something like that. It's right over by Levi Stadium. It's about 240 acres, and it was supposed to be 1,680 units, 700 hotel rooms, and it was it was approved in 2016. But they've just completely stalled out. Now, the construction company, the people that have that plan, they actually did just complete over at the Gateway Crossings over in Coleman. So maybe they're going to be moving on to this project here soon. But right now, that is stalled out. But the six projects I really wanted to hit on tonight were North Morgan Hill, where super exciting and interesting what's happening over there. They're almost building out a whole new town over by Cochrane. And I actually ran into this with some clients. I was showing them a home over that way. Great clients, great people. And there was this big open land over there. And so did a little researching and found out exactly what they're doing. And I will touch on that very shortly. But then talking about Cambrian Village, obviously the one that a lot of us who live in South San Jose have heard about forever, how they're going to tear that down and build. It's the next Santana Row that's going to be built there. I've been hearing about that for over 10 years, and they haven't done anything. So we'll touch on that tonight. Glen Loma Ranch and Gilroy, what's the update going on there? Data centers, always a hot topic. There's a couple things happening with those. I'll touch on those two hospitals and where the BART is and what's happening with BART. So North Morgan Hill, there was supposed to be over 350,000 square feet of retail. they have adjusted this a little bit. So over on Cochrane, I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but they were going to do a new you have Target, Dick's, all those things, but next to that, they were going to do a whole nother just all massive shopping center. Well, they have redone that plan. This plan now is calling for tons of homes. So this is the phase two. And what phase two is it is going to be 135,000 square feet of retail, and then is going to be a ton of homes. So you can see on the left side there, it's just going to be massive homes, townhomes, and even a hotel. So all of that's happening right over by that Target on kind of DePaul and Cochrane over there. It's that's getting built out. And then they have another just right next to it. They have another shopping center and then other residences going in on DePaul and Cochrane on the other side, which is going to be 59,000 square feet of a shopping center and 105 detached homes. And in that shopping center, they have talked about Sprouts. So Sprouts is the one going in there that's going to anchor that shopping center. I heard something about Tractor Supply at one point going in there as well. Actually, one other thing I want to hit on this on the phase two and where that is on the Cochrane Commons, they are accepting early leases on the for they're basically for where the retail centers are. So they're taking early leases on those right now. They have not broken ground. They're still in early phases doing environmental studies and all of that, but they are advertising the leases as of June. So I think that's an interesting thing to be aware of. So that is moving forward slowly, but still moving forward. This is what the city has on file in Morgan Hill over for the DePaul area. So on the other side where that Sprouts is going to be. So Cambrian Village, where's Cambrian Village at? Well, that's 18 acres, which is incredible. And it's going to be an assisted living building that is going to be great. We have an aging population here, so the assisted living could definitely be a good one. That's going to have 110 beds and 50 senior independent units. And then they're also going to have, so I have some notes here. Just want to make sure I hit all of it. They have a lot of not single family homes, but townhomes and everything going in here as well. So here's kind of the breakdown map here. So you can see building 3 kind of on the center middle. That's where the assisted living is going to go. On the outside, that's all going to be homes. So condos, that's going to be townhomes, basically high density living like you would see at Santana Row. Building 2 kind of up top, that's going to be a hotel. And then you're going to have lots of retail and shopping kind of that is mixed in there as well. And you can see the phases here. So they're going to build the residential parts first. That's going to be built out. The senior community is going to be in phase 3. So you can kind of see how they're going to break down those phases there. So yeah, here's just kind of breaking down again where they are going. The hotel's in phase 5, retail, that's more in phase 4. So sorry, I had to get a sip of water there. I think if that does get through, I think that's going to be amazing. Obviously, all the plans, all the renderings, they're getting approvals on them. They've just stalled actually breaking ground. But they filed for an extension recently, earlier this year, and that extension is pending from the city right now. Oh, and here you go. I actually put that in there. Yeah, so it was February 2026. Kimco files for an amendment. And so the original permit that they had expired in 2028, and it's still under review right now. So Glen Loma Ranch is a very popular area in Gilroy. A lot of people love that area. It's right across from Eagle Ridge, and that's one of the newer developments over there. And they've been really kind of building that out over the last 10 years or so. Well, they're just getting ready to break ground. Actually, they broke ground on some of it right now, but they're actually creating 84 new lots over the next couple years. So you have Canyon Creek is a new area that's getting developed. That's going to be 40 units. Rocky Knoll is 21 units. Malvasia 2 is 23. West Lucasa at Vintner is going to get some as well. So there's a lot of planned development happening there as well. Now, they're not going to be giant. There's going to be some single family homes in there. I know people always ask, are they building single family homes anymore? And honestly, the answer is they've gone away from that mostly for new builds. This one's going to be a mix. The single family homes that they are building, from what I've been hearing, they're going to be very small lots. So they're kind of going to be stacked on top of them. They might have some duet homes where you share a wall, so not completely detached from each other. And here's a little map. Probably a little hard to see on your guys' screens there, but all this is all on the City of Gilroy Planning Commission websites. You can get all this information on where they're building. It's actually kind of an interesting read. At least it is to me. If you have questions, please drop them in the comments. I try and answer every question. If you're curious where the market's going, if you have just anything, yeah, throw it in the comment section there. Okay, popular one right now, data centers. I hear about data centers almost every single day. People are worried about the ones that are being built. They're worried about, can one get built by me, what this means. I don't have all the answers on data centers and what they do. I think we've all heard the horror stories of a data center getting put up, and all of a sudden you're getting brown water in your faucet. You're hearing a buzzing noise constantly. You hear those horror stories that have happened. Obviously, none of us want that to happen. They are promising those are not issues that will happen here in California. So who knows? But they are happening. And someone commented here. Morgan Hill is now doing a new downtown construction plan. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, Morgan Hill is been so on top of construction and building things out. They really are creating a beautiful downtown. They want it to be a showstopper. I think they've seen cities like Livermore and what they've been able to do, and how they've really just made it a popular epicenter, and all the people that are attracted over there because of the downtown. I think Morgan Hill saw that and saw the template, and they are now incorporating some of those things. At least that's my opinion. Thanks for the comment, Steve. So San Jose has 1630 megawatts in the queue of I don't even know what that really means, to be perfectly honest with you. But I look at the numbers and it says it's 3 times of all the housing units. So that's using the amount of power of, basically it's tripling the amount of power that the houses are using in San Jose. That's how much energy is going to be used by the ones that they have planned. That means our infrastructure has to improve substantially. And I've been seeing a lot of construction on that infrastructure happening. So fingers crossed that that works out and we don't have a lot of blackouts like we used to. It's way too hot right now for blackouts. But I think this is what I've been hearing a lot of, just because I'm tuned into Gilroy a little bit. My parents live out there. My brother lives out there. So Gilroy is actually past a data center that's going to be out kind of off of 152 back behind where Costco, the outlets out that way. And it was improved in 2025 just by a single city administrator. There was no hearing on it. There was nothing. It was just approved like it was a normal development, not even a normal development, just like a normal normal commercial property going up in a commercial zone. It was legal because that's what the code written in 1981 said. It's going to be about 56 acres east of 101 in 3 buildings. And they have started the construction on it, but there's been a lot of pushback from the community on this. And they're holding meetings now. They're trying to calm down people of Gilroy. Um, I really, I don't know if it's good or bad. I think there can be some positives from these data centers, obviously with AI and all the computing power needed for that. These data centers are important, but it's also one of those things where if they're going to wreck our communities, if it's going to ruin our power grids, if it's going to ruin our waters, then I think that they're awful and they need to be in Antarctica. I don't think there's enough power up there, but it's just one of those that we're going to have to kind of wait and see a little bit. But they have them planned in so many places. So that's where the Gilroy one's going. They have one planned off of Santa Teresa. That's 564,000 square feet over 18 acres. There's a new substation that they're building next to it. That's going to be a big one as well. That's one I've been hearing a lot about. There's people that have reached out to me who live in that community who are looking at their options to move. They're scared about what this means for their home values. They are worried about what it means for their community. So I think there is a lot of fear that people are seeing around these data centers, and they're not getting good answers because I don't think there's enough history of them, is what I kind of think. And the history that you do see, the short history of them, is a lot of negativity. So hopefully they can figure out ways of making them safer, more efficient, where they're not a drain on communities. And there's another one in Silver Creek Valley that is 516,000 square feet. So, I mean, if you really look at where they're building them, they're building them to the south. I know there's one in Milpitas going up. They're all over. They're starting to kind of pop up. It's the new in thing. New York, I heard they were trying to ban them, or they did ban them in New York. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some legislation around these come up here. Now, this is one that I'm actually very interested in because I actually think these are two very positive ones. Go from maybe a little bit more negative with the data centers to two very positives. The investment that they're making into the hospital infrastructure for Kaiser and then El Camino over in Los Gatos are both over $1 billion projects. The Kaiser that is over in South San Jose, they are replacing 250,000 square feet with 685,000 square feet. And they're going from 247 beds to 303 private beds. And they're adding all sorts of amenities to it and new state-of-the-art facilities for everything you can imagine. That's a huge thing. And I'm curious. I think it's actually going to be good for that community over there. I think it's going to bring up home values having that nice of a hospital facility there. And I really do think that that's a huge positive. And they're going to be doing farmers markets. It's really going to be more than just a hospital over there. The El Camino one that just got they're just going through the phases now with that. I just saw the announcement last month about this, and I think it's absolutely amazing what they have planned over there in Los Gatos. $1 billion, making a huge hospital complex that has everything you can imagine. Yeah, it was June 15th. So it's about 6 weeks old since they made the announcement. It's going to be a 340,000 square foot acute care campus next to the existing hospital there. 12 operating rooms, 25 bay emergency department, a level 3 NICU, huge maternity, cardiac, and oncology wings. And it's going to be the first all electric hospital in Los Gatos, and it's going to be state of the art. So that's pretty amazing that they're building that here. You can kind of see the renderings here. I know it's probably a little small in your guys' screens. And then BART. So what's happening with BART? I've talked about BART in some of my previous videos when we've talked about SB 79 and the how you can build up and the infrastructure that's changing with that. So I we'll definitely could see some jokes happening about the fact that there's $12.4 billion in costs that they're spending on BART, but $5 billion of it is federally funded. They're targeting 2036. And now, if there's anything like the bullet train that was supposed to happen, that's where the jokes come in. We'll who knows? But right now, you do see the extensions happening down Capitol Expressway. When you drive that, you can physically see what's being built right now there. They're adding 4 stations, though. They're going to add 28th Street, downtown San Jose, Deardron, and it's all going to be underground to those. So it's almost going to be like a subway. Plus, you're going to get Santa Clara at ground level. So it's about a 5-mile bore tunnel that they're going to be doing under San Jose for this. And they've supposedly already procured, I definitely didn't say that word right, but they've already got the boring machine to start that process. Hopefully it gets done sooner than later. I think that's awesome if they can. I think that just helps connect the whole Bay Area, being able to take BART from Deardron up into Oakland, being able to take then the train from Deardron up to San Francisco. Everything's interconnected if you make that connection there, and that just becomes a bigger hub. And I think that's what Google was envisioning when they bought all the property around Deardron and wanting to make that their hub. Unfortunately, that's stalled out. But the closer we get to BART connecting there, I think maybe they start re-looking at those ideas. So, kind of want to dive into a little bit of how does this impact your home? The data centers, the fear that's happening around there. I think, unfortunately, that does have some negative impact if you are close to those data centers right now. Until they're up and running, we don't know what the real impact's going to be of the data center. If it makes noise, if you hear a buzzing noise like people have reported by some of these, yeah, your home value is going to go down. That's not a great thing. Being more connected, though, some of these developments, like so over off of Cochrane in Morgan Hill, those areas that are getting built out. If you're a little ways off of those, if you're in some of those communities that you're insulated from the traffic, that's going to be a huge plus. You're now just almost created a second downtown to Morgan Hill. You just created this huge complex of things. You have all the shopping, you have the good supermarkets, you have restaurants, bars, all that right there. It's just great what they're building there for that North Morgan Hill area. So I think that's a huge positive. I think Cambrian Center, if they get that built out right, and that eventually comes to fruition and becomes that Southern Santana Row like we were promised 10 plus years ago, I think that would be incredible. I think that would just help home values around there. I mean, not that they really need it. Those homes do quite well. So, I think there's a lot of positives with all the construction. You're seeing El Paseo and Saratoga. That's another development that I didn't talk about tonight, but that's another huge one that's happening. They're building a high-rise condos and apartments there. They're going to put a Whole Foods under there. So that's another area that's really getting built out right now. And before we wrap it up here tonight, if you have questions, please make sure you put them in the comment section and I'll get to it. So we just had the Fed meeting and their announcement this week. They're not doing anything with the rates right now. I'm hearing that we could see 2 rate hikes this year still. Inflation's a little up right now. They're just seeing some negative things out there, and we're seeing the inflation go up because of what's happening with Iran. That's the unfortunate reality of it. We're seeing oil prices go up. Oil prices go up, inflation tends to follow because cost of goods go up. So that is having a huge driving impact on that. Well, when inflation goes up, the only way really to control that is to bring rates up and make that would make mortgage rates go up. So what does that do to the housing market? Well, in our area in San Jose, Santa Clara County, what you tend to see is less sellers. So because there's going to be less sellers because they don't want to move out of that 3% rate, there's going to still be less buyers, but you're not really going to see that drive the home prices down like you might in the rest of the country. So you'll see our home prices stabilize and stay pretty even for the while all that's happening. You'll have less buyers, but you'll have less sellers. So you'll just kind of see a flat market here probably for the next year if they do raise rates. You just won't have as many options out there if you're a buyer. But there's lots of options right now. There's lots of inventory right this second out there. So if you're a buyer, now's a great time to be looking. Rates are still, they're not low, but they're the lowest they're going to be this year from everything we're being told. So get into the house, get a buy down, get some sort of credit from the seller, work your negotiations. That's what I'm helping my buyers with right now is, okay, let's try and get a rate buy down. Let's try and get 2 years at 2% lower. Instead of getting the house maybe a little bit less, let's, if we get you a 4.5% rate, that works pretty dang good for you. And then you could still refinance at any point. So there are lots of options for you right this second. If you're looking to buy, if you're looking to sell, you have to be a little realistic with this market right now. It's not that it's a bad market. It's still a very good market. We live in an amazing area. People want to live here. In California, we're 2.5 million homes short. So we have not substantially less inventory than we have like buyers. So there is a huge market out there no matter what if you're looking to sell. But you also have to be realistic. It's not 3 years ago. You're not going to get 10 or 12 offers on your home unless it's just the most immaculate home, one of a kind. No one's ever seen a home like this. Then yes. Or if you're in Los Altos or Atherton or a super premium area, even then you're not getting 12 offers, but your home prices are still going up substantially. But for a normal home in the normal area, you're lucky to get 1 to 3 offers. Your home value is a little bit less than it might have been a couple years ago, or is pretty close to the same. But the appreciation that we made over the last 5 years more than makes up for it. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I will give you guys a second or two. Let's see, here's one. Steve again with the I think that's talking about the data center, talking about building one in the ocean. I agree. I think the upkeep would be pretty expensive and probably dangerous. I mean, I think about the underwater welders. You hear about those careers all the time and the danger aspect of those. So that's yeah, I don't know a whole lot about that, but I read a little article on that not long ago. Well, if there's no more questions, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Every Thursday about 5:30, I hop on here, do a live stream, talk about what's happening, try and have a topic to talk about, but really just, take any of your guys' questions live and try and give you guys my perspective and a little bit about what's happening. But if you have questions and you want to reach out offline, my number is 408-504-0385. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next one.